Hello students, Mr. Bostrom here. We're currently at a dairy farm in Canterbury, Connecticut. This is our friend Nick down here. He's doing the milking. So as you can see, we have 7 cows here. And if we walk over here, we have 7 more cows. So let me explain what's occurring. So down in here, this is the milking parlor. This is where a person, our friend over here, Nick, he is hooking up all the milking machines to the cows that are in here. So this type of parlor, milking parlor, is called a double 7 herringbone. So what that means is there's 7 cows on each side. So as you can count, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 3 more up that you can't really see. There's 7 cows on each side. 7 here, 7 on that side. And what's happening is I set down the parlor here. So we step down, we're at the parlor. Now we're kind of at udder level, okay? So here's the cow's udder. On it right now is sprayed with iodine, which is basically a cleaner to make sure that your milk has no contaminants in it, like manure or wood shavings or sand or any other debris they might collect as they're outside. So pretty much you spray that on there to help keep the teat clean. And then right here, this is our milking machine. So there's 4 of these so-called suction cups. As you can see, the end of it would slip right onto the teat. So if we look in here, this arm will move onto the cow, and that's how you put on the milking machine. So these girls just got finished milking, so we'll watch them. So they just got finished milking, so now they basically walk back outside, where they'll spend the day eating, hanging out, and eating some more, okay? So that's what's happening here. So each milking machine is connected to this tube, okay? So if you follow this tube, it connects down right here into this aluminum tube right here, okay? What's occurring there, just follow it. This aluminum tube kind of wraps around the whole parlor. There's one for that side as well. Okay, so it goes into this big kind of tank where it's then pumped upward into that pipe. And that pipe, as you can see, exits the parlor up there. And then where that goes into our bulk tank, which is basically where the milk is stored. Alright? So these girls here are getting ready to be milked. So that's the lowdown about how it works here. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about how each piece works. So explain what you're putting on there?
An iodine-free dip using Ambic drop-down sprayer.
And what is the iodine for?
Sanitize the teat and also condition the teat. It's got the iodine as an antiseptic. And then the conditioners include lanolin, much like you moisturize your hands. Same concept. The teat skin is delicate, and caring for it is pretty much 101 of udder health here.
So this would just be normal iodine that you would kind of put on
Part
your
of
skin?
Yeah, it is part of the mix.
So these are all hooked up to different hoses. It's hooked up to a tank.
It's hooked up to an Ambic pump, which runs off the our suction, which then leads to a line in a jug of iodine. You buy it 15 gallons at a time. Alright, so I'm wiping off the iodine mix along with any debris, usually sand and manure. We bed on sand. So as I'm wiping them off, I'm also feeling the teat, seeing if there's any abnormalities, usually hardness, or if it's warmer than the cow is, or if it's lumpy. So if this teat right here, I say, hey, why is this a little hard? Why is this a little lumpy? I'm gonna give her a couple squirts. Make sure her milk is good, her teat flows correctly, and there's nothing in it. For this, takeoff doesn't work, so we just open up a clamp, the machine starts sucking. When I flip it over, the way the tube is cut inside of this rubber part called the liner, take it off for you right here. Damn it. This tube right here, when the inflation lays against it, it shuts it off. So
this is what's creating the suction.
No, that's not what's creating the suction. Suction is created by 2D Laval VP78 pumps in our mechanical room. Basically, it's a drum with 4 spinning fins, and that creates the suction, which is balanced by our balance tank. So the suction goes in the inner liner here. This line right here, it squeezes inside the shell the inflation. If we were to just have straight suction on the cow, the milk wouldn't come out. What we are doing is replicating how a calf would suck on the teat, which is suction that comes on, goes off, comes on, goes off.
So how do you know? So this is the milk down here that's flowing into the bowl?
Yep, that's flowing right into the bowl from the 4 inflations.
So each teat has a suction cup on it.
So take your milk line, your milk hose off the hook, detach the claw, flip it over, swing it up onto your holder, hook it on like that. You take your Jetta cup, you just place it on like so.
And what is this doing?
This is setting it up to be washed. Our wash water, which our first wash will be a warm rinse. Your second wash will be hot water with a chlorinated soap. And your third wash is going to be your acid rinse, which not only cleans but also gets rid of all the soap that's in the system.
And how often is this done?
After every milking.
So twice a day?
Twice a day.
Hello students, this is Mr. Boschum here. So hope you liked the video of our virtual tour of a dairy farm in Canterbury, Connecticut. So just to go over a couple little things about the farm we were at. So they're milking about 80 to 90 cows 2 times per day. So the milk truck picks up the milk from that farm about every 3 days. So about twice a week they're showing up to pick up the milk. So they do milk a mixture of Jerseys and Holsteins there. Most of them are Holsteins, but there are some Jerseys there. The Holsteins are the black and white ones, and the Jerseys are the brown ones. So we're going to go over a couple notes right now about a couple things that I identified in the video, but I hope you guys liked it, and I'm going to be posting some more videos like that soon. Alright, so just to go over a couple things I mentioned in the video. So I mentioned the parlor was called a double 7 herringbone. And what that means is, so as you can see up here, double 7 herringbone. So what that means is there's 2 sets of cows. 2 sets of 7 cows on each side of the parlor. Okay, so the parlor was kind of the pit that we were standing in where we could see the cows udder. So that's called a milking parlor. That's where the milking is actually occurring. So the design of this parlor is called a double 7. So that means there's 2 sets of 7 cows on each side of the parlor. So you can milk up to 14 cows at one time. So that's quite a bit. There are bigger farms that can milk hundreds of cows at one time, but this is an older place. It's not as big as other farms that are located out west, but they can milk up to 14 cows at a time. So the parlor is the part where you're actually standing and doing the milking. So that would be like the pit we were in and where the cows were standing. That's called the milking parlor. Okay? So the next thing we talked about was the iodine pre-dip. So that was the hose we saw our friend Nick spraying onto the teat of each cow. So the iodine pre-dip is used to clean off the teat and keep it sanitized. So obviously cows live outside. They live in mud sometimes, and they're laying in their poop occasionally. So we need to keep their teeth sanitized. So if there was poop or wood, sawdust or mud or any other type of debris that we don't want on the teat, the iodine, if we let it sit on there for a couple minutes, helps to sanitize the teat before we actually pull the milk from her. It also helps condition the skin on the teat So it's like your hands. If it's winter time outside and your hands start to crack, sometimes you put like a moisturizing cream on them. So same thing with the cows. It's very uncomfortable if their teats are dried out. It's not good. So the iodine helps with that. And this does need to be wiped off like we saw in the video. It needs to be wiped off before we start milking the cows. And that's just because you don't want iodine to get into the milk. So that's usually just wiped off with a cloth before the milking begins. And the next thing we saw was the milking claw. So as you can see in this document right here, the milking claw has 4, you could say, suction cups or couplings. And each suction cup, so each one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, gets hooked onto the cow's teats. So each cow has 4 teats, and each one has its own claw, or each one has its own suction cup. And that suction cup does not hurt the cow at all. It's actually, it's, if you put it on your finger, it doesn't really hurt at all. It just kind of feels like somebody's squeezing your finger and letting go, squeezing your finger and letting go. And that's emulating or modeling how a calf would actually suckle on her mother to get milk. So that's on the cow for about 5 minutes till she's fully milked out. Some cows might be less, some cows might be more, but it's about 4 to 5 minutes. So that's called the milking claw. And then at the bottom here, so like this part, that's the bowl. That's where you can see the milk actually coming down from the teat down into these tubes, and then it ends up into the bowl down here, usually made of glass or plastic, and you can see the milk entering it. And then hooked on the bottom right here, that would be another hose that is connected to the big aluminum tube that then runs to your bulk tank, which stores the milk until the milk truck picks it up. All right, and then cleaning. Cleaning is another big thing. Cleaning is done every single day, 2 times a day. If your farm is milking their cows 2 times a day, then you clean it 2 times a day. If it's a farm that's milking 3 times a day, then it's cleaned 3 times a day. So at the end there, we saw the machines getting hooked up to be cleaned. So basically they're washed out with soapy water, and then you're rinsed with hot water to kill any bacteria or get rid of any contaminants that might have ended up into the line where our milk is. So this is a big thing on dairy farms, is cleanliness with the milk. Obviously, we want to sell the freshest milk and cleanest milk we can to the consumers. There also is a dairy inspector that comes unannounced whenever he or she might like, and they're basically just inspecting the farm to make sure that everybody's keeping up to code and doing what they're supposed to be doing. So if a dairy farm is not cleaning their equipment and facility like they should be, then they could get shut down. So it's very, very important for every farmer to keep their equipment and facility as clean as possible, because we want to sell only clean and fresh milk to the public. So if there's any questions, feel free to email me. Hope you guys liked the video, and there's going to be some questions to go along with it. So look for that link to answer some questions. Thank you.